curious opening. That is, what I feel like is going on in my brain is that and this feels very exciting as I say it or go to say it. That I am working to open up creativity. And a couple of things come up when I say that. I feel like, slash, I am having the experience that is actually somewhat dizzying as I think about it. And where I feel like and have the internal visual of my brain neurology parallel to the net of Indra imagery and metaphor. That is, each synapse and neural node is being recognized and acknowledged, sponsored, and encouraged to be fully alive. And to be fully able to communicate with any other node in the network. Just like the net of Indra, where we each, as humans, are fully whole and complete oneness instances / substantialities of God and metaphysically and perhaps through the internet as well, physically, are able to communicate with any other jewel on the net of Indra. And my brain / the neurology of my brain as I speak feels itself physiologically existentially as well excited. It wants this aliveness. And just like every person wants to be recognized, just like every adamantine particle wants to be recognized, so too every synapse. And I don't know all the technical correct language, but every synapse, every neural node, every ganglia and all of the components of the neural net, what I feel as I speak is the energization of each of these synapses. And referring to the bits and pieces of the neural net that actually transfer neurotransmitters of all kinds across the network. That's what they do. That's what they want to do. That's what they are alive to do. And yes, they want to communicate directly with the other synapses around them through which neurotransmitters can be sent. But they don't want to be limited to that. It's an experience of them wanting to honor the nurturance and intermutual excitation between synapses. But they know. Each synapse knows what is healthy and not healthy for it. And the flush of energy within my enteric brain when I say this, / when I acknowledge this, feels like divine light, divine well-being, or what I call wisdom well-being. Each synapse knows and wants and is organized and is created from wisdom well-being. The trillions of cells that are organized into the human body, and likewise for any living organism of whatever cell count, have organized intermutually. For the total well-being of the body. In Gary speak, wisdom well-being has organized each of the cells into the human body. And each of the cells, as I have actually gone into before, knows what is healthy for it, knows how to share that health with other cells who are also intermutual with wisdom well-being, and wanting to share that wisdom well-being, and as well, each cell knows when there is a cell around it that is detrimental, such as a virus or bacteria, etc. What I am experiencing is slash feels like slash I am in the experience of the flow of wisdom well-being in my body. I am experiencing the energization of my body's neurology. As form and formlessness and where formlessness is creativity. And the pure joy of creativity. So the experience has moved from feeling each synapse wanting and desiring and being whole and energized and a substantiality in itself, wanting not only to communicate with the other synapses and neurology around it in health and shared well-being, and also wanting to be able to communicate with any other synapse anywhere in the brain, to this almost giddy flow of light and of playfulness, pure potential, one might say. It is the very flow of light, of love, of God, of being, of creativity, I would say it is life force itself, which I call livingness. The very living and alive vitality of the energy of the universe. And in this aliveness, this giddy aliveness there is existential, ongoing, continuous, innate fabric of existence, substantiality of freedom. And although the body can myelinate pathways within the brain to perform any kind of task, like walking or brushing one's teeth or playing piano or whatever our skills are, and whereas I feel that structure that we impose to do each of our jobs, for instance, whether we are a doctor or accountant or store clerk or truck driver, whatever, I am also feeling more this sense of freedom. And playfulness, where every synapse and neuron, which is whole unto itself, wants to be able to communicate and play and co-create with any other neuron and synapse. In an ever-changing, ever-ongoing flow of creative playfulness. In this experience, there is nothing static. Or fixed. At least outside of the core operative neurology that beats our hearts and breathes us and performs all the miraculous acts of digestion and immunology and cell repair and all of that within the body. But in terms of the action-oriented self, which is that which expresses this flow of light, there is this rush of, and only this rush of, if you will, playful freedom. Playful creativity. What happens to myelinization of circuits? The Dan Siegel expression of neurons that fire together, wire together. In this creative flow of light that I'm experiencing. What I sense is that the fabric of myelinization also wants to be and is actually more distributed in an interconnected myelinization network throughout the brain. And in this distributed network, it is more plastic, neurologically speaking, and able to intercommunicate and inter-excite, open quote, distant, close quote, parts of the brain. And in this interconnectivity, where all aspects of the brain, all synapses and neurons, and neurotransmitters are working simultaneously and continuously and contiguously, even in the sense of contiguously myelinated. There is an overall coherence in the operation of the brain body. So I'm including not only the brain, but its interconnectivity with all of the polyvagal and autonomic nervous systems and connections to all of the organs and cells of the body. And where all of this network and all of this intercommunication both forms a collective field of coherence. A collective field of intercommunication and intercommunicational coherence with all the neurological partners immediately juxtaposed to / next to each synapse and neuron, but also with the broader sense of all of the neurology of the brain, much like a pebble in a pond ripples outward in a coherent wave pattern and concentric circle patterning throughout the entirety of the lake. And what I'm referring to here is that not only does this intercommunication between all of the synapses and neurons of the brain-body complex create and contribute to a broader coherent field, a broader coherence, so too does that broader coherence field help to stabilize the well-being intercommunication of all of the parts of synapse and neurons, etc., within that field, which is within the very specific neurology of the body. So too does that coherent field tap into a higher consciousness, a higher awareness, a higher vibration of consciousness that is already there, but that then becomes more utilized for the well-being of the body. And so too, just like the pebble in the pond creates outward ripples that actually go out and in and up and down, which we don't often reference, so too do these coherent fields within the body relating to and speaking to and creating and helping to bring more into a coherent vibration existentially. So too do these coherence fields, if you will, relate to and help to substantialize other coherent fields in a concentric metaphor, and that are concentric fields of well-being, and of creativity and of this freedom of creativity throughout the multidimensional slash multi-concentric quantum circles of consciousness. What I'm also trying to speak to is the sense of the question, along with its simultaneous answer, of what is it then that is organizing this coherence field throughout the neurology of the body, and that I'm referring to as this higher vibratory field that holds, if you will, the body neurology in a holistic and coherent field. And simultaneous with the question, or series of questions, such as, who or what is then making decisions? Who or what then is deciding what to do or be or become? Who is or what is really then organizing these higher vibrational fields of coherence and intelligence, which I refer to as wisdom intelligence? What I feel is something that I have spoken to before, and I only note that because the continuity of this experience and awareness and feeling and information is that of something that might be a little hard to talk about, but all of this really is. What I feel as I ask that question and listen to the simultaneous answer is something akin to a combination of knowingness and delight and freedom and compassion and love and an existential version of humbleness, and even of shyness at the existential level. And even this shyness is hard to explain. But the humbleness and shyness goes something like this. The part of me that is considered perhaps the ego, or the independent and separate self, which is the part of me that has clamored to be separate and individual, is what becomes shy and humble. And in a good way, I want to say slightly embarrassed, but that's not a good word. But only in the sense of recognizing something. That has always been true and feels so existentially true as to be unavoidable, if you will. And even tears well up of gratitude and love and compassion as I experience this. And what I'm trying to refer to here is that of a feeling and an awareness, perhaps even an upgrade in my awareness, that says, that realizes, that is humbled in the realization of how could I ever have considered myself separate from God? From the very fabric of the universe, from the very fabric of light and love and compassion and wisdom, well-being that has created us. And it's kind of like if you've ever had an experience of doubting a good friend or a spouse or a lover or somebody really important to you. And where they have always really, however imperfectly, but have always been giving and loving you, but you just not recognizing it until some event or some awareness happens. And you say something like, "Oh my God," or "Oh my word," or "Wow, how could I have ever doubted you?" and realizing that it was only my internal stuff that created the doubt. And this is that paradigm existentially. Infinitely, at the level of the fabric of existence, at the level of God, at the level of who we each are as expressions of that fabric, expressions of that divine light. That is the universe. That is God. That is love. That is who we each are. How could I have ever doubted your love? And this humbleness, this shyness, this vulnerable and healthy embarrassment, if you will, is not a diminishment or judgment against me or my ego or the parts of me that demanded that I be independent and separate. But rather it is a softening of that ego, a softening of that demand, a softening of that separative reality thinking that really never worked well anyway. And this upgrade, this opening, this allowing myself to flow into the waters of something warmer and more filled with light and divinity and love and compassion and being, as well as being loved and able to be loved and nurtured at the deepest level of who I am, at the deepest level of who you are, at the deepest level of who we each are. And the neurology of the body, each cell, each synapse, each connective dendrite and each reach out of the neurotransmitters and all of the communication patterns within the brain body is built of this fabric of light and of love and of what I call intermutuality, which is that simultaneous, mutual understanding and knowingness and awareness that everything is and that we each are aspects of this flow of divine light, flow of God, flow of the fabric of existence, with all of this desire and agency to flow and to create and intercreate slash co-create, to be co-generative, to be co in the sharing and inter-support of health and well-being with each other, just as we are. We are built of such fabric.